Hello and welcome. Today we are exploring a topic that is near and dear to my heart. It is how self care can actually help navigate through the challenges of PTSD. This is a bit of my own story. I do remember the diagnosis of PTSD, and I thought my life was over. So these are the self care practices and what I really learned through that process of healing. What I'm talking about is that something that will allow you to take back control of your life and for you to ignite your resilience. And that's healthy self care practices. And so as I play my little ding, ding, ding introduction music, click and subscribe because I am going to be talking about how self care, healthy self care practices can actually transform your life. Hi, I'm Rob Cook, speaker, coach, and founder of Life After Trauma. I'm glad you're here. Today's topic, we are going to incorporate how self care can actually help you navigate those challenges that come along with PTSD. But before we get into that, a little bit about my story and why we would say you would listen to me talk about this topic. Um, my PTSD originally, I thought, started from my 21 years of military service, but I was wrong. My PTSD actually started growing up as an inner city kid and seeing violence and drug misusers misuse and seeing racial violence and racial tension. I didn't realize till later on in my healing journey that actually that's when my PTSD started. So what I want to do is go into a few things to set up some context for you about how I explain PTSD. So I'm gonna bring up some slides real quick. All right. So first is just what is PTSD, and we're just going to take it at textbook value first. All right. And that is the health condition that can develop after experiencing or witnessing a traumatic event. It can lead to intrusive thoughts, nightmares, flashbacks, intense anxiety, or fear. All right. So that's what the book says. So for me, what I had was a numbness to life. What I had was the inability to effectively communicate. What I had was this extreme anxiety of trying to hold all these pieces together and balance so many things in my life that if one failed, my life was over. Those are the effects that I was having, remembering that, on the largest airfield in Iraq, that when I heard an ambulance, usually there it meant someone that was a teammate of ours were harmed. Well, when I come home from that particular deployment, I stay a mile maybe from an emergency room, and that habitual every siren is another soldier, another sailor, another marine, another coast guard, another airman. It was just insane at the time, and trying to walk as if nothing is wrong throughout the world caused quite a bit of stress, quite a bit of damage to my body and to my mental, physical, and spiritual health. So this video is my walk from that space to now loving my life. Doesn't mean everything's perfect, but what it does do is give you some hope and some inspiration about handling those negative and adverse effects that come along with traumatic experiences. All right. So a few things again for context on how I explain PTSD. One is this station, this platform is not here to qualify or quantify anyone's trauma. Okay. So we're not here to say, oh, Rob, you went through military trauma, so yours is higher than mine, which was just a sexual assault, or mine, which was just a domestic abuse partner. We're not here. We're not in the business of that. What we're saying is we're addressing the feeling underneath those narratives that is stopping you from living your life. Okay, that's what this platform is. So for a minute, just put your narratives to the side and go with me on the feeling you have when those flashbacks or negative or adverse effects come up. So we're dealing here in the feeling of them. All right. And if you do not know how I explain self care, go out to one of my previous videos, click on it. I have them, I think two or three of them out now. What is self care from my perspective, the healthy self care practices that I talk about. I think that's out there. If you don't already understand the context of what I mean when I say self care, this may be a good opportunity to pause this video and go do that so this information makes sense. All right. So the first thing you want to do on the battlefield, all right, when you're lost or find yourself in a chaotic situation, is you want to recalibrate. You want to find out exactly where you are and you want to know exactly where you're going. So when dealing with PTSD and feeling like you're out of control, that's the norm. When those negative feelings arise, you feel as if death is imminent, or you got to be game on. Well, self-care is an intentional and proactive approach that allows you to create a renewed sense of safety within yourself. When you are present, when you are eating balance, when you are sleeping well, when you are moving often, when you are prioritizing your self care, those are all aimed to recalibrate you, to recenter you, to reground you, for you to continue your experience of life. That's the very first thing that healthy self care practices do, is it recalibrates you. All right. And a very good recalibration puts you on the path to success in no time. The second thing that healthy self-care practices does for a person is it helps relieve triggers and stress. And one thing I want to make abundantly clear about triggers is triggers only hurt if you pull them. Okay? So no gun fires if the trigger isn't pulled. Once triggers begin to happen around you, they're happening in the attempt to protect you from harm. Here's what I mean. When your body goes through something traumatic, it goes on full on record mode. So all of your senses takes in as much information about that experience as possible. It stores it. That's where we get the body keep score from. The recording of that information isn't to harm you, it's actually to protect you, so that if you are ever in any situation and it's remotely familiar to that traumatic experience, those senses are going to send out reminders. But we've taken the reminders to automatically navigate ourselves or time travel ourselves back into that traumatic experience and stay trapped there with fear and anxiety. That's not what the trigger is designed for. That's putting you in harm's way. The trigger is a healthy reminder or alarm for you to pay close attention to your surroundings right now. That's all a trigger says. Pay attention right now. All right. I smell something that I smelled when we were in said event, and that smell resonates with me. Or, hey, pay close attention. I just heard a loud noise. Well, in your traumatic experience, a loud noise happened. But today, this loud noise was a box falling. Okay. So that trigger was just look, check, make sure that's just a box. Once you realize it's just a box, that stress gets relieved and you're back in your day. That is how self care helps relieve triggers and stress. And the third thing that I think that self care does is really ignite your resilience. I mean, it's almost like a fire within you. Self care isn't about the soothing moments like a spa day or hanging out in the swimming pool. While that may be a self care practice, it's about building your resilience and really kind of like cultivating your self awareness. Self care is designed to put you in the best position possible to live your life. That's when you're using the memories of your past traumatic experiences, not as weapons against yourself, but as reminders of how strong you are because you made it. That is what I think healthy self care practices can do for you when dealing with something like PTSD, anxiety, or depressive thinking. It, one, can recalibrate you, send you on your way in a more grounded way. All right. Two, can help you relieve the stress associated with triggers. And remember, trigger, we have to pull it. You do not have to entertain it. You just have to be aware of what's happening at that moment. All right. And number three, the igniting of our resilience. That is what's all possible. Boom. So here's what I need you to do. Okay. First, I want you to take advantage of a free healthcare summit so you can get the latest information there is about how best to take care of yourself. Okay. So that's going to be on August 31st at 10 a.m. Pacific. Go out to my website, imrobcook.com, and then all the information will be there. Also, go over to the resources section and download the manual for healthy self care practices. I hope you were able to hear something very transformative in my content today. And if not, I hope it was at least helpful. Thank you and have the day you deserve.